Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is set to meet US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. The top Indian diplomat is here in Washington, D.C. He was received by US Defense Secretary Lloyd, who welcomed his guest with an honor guard at the Pentagon before the US and Indian delegations sat down for talks.
I do share with you that the global situation has become far more challenging this year for a variety of reasons. And the Indo-Pacific in particular, it's important that the stability, security and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific should be secured, and that is best done, amongst others, by cooperation between two countries.
Today we are positioning the U.S. and Indian militaries to operate and coordinate more closely together than ever. And we're taking significant steps, to deepen our defense cooperation, from stronger information sharing and defense industrial ties to cooperation in emerging defense domains, including through the launch of a new dialogue later this year. All this will help ensure that our militaries are ready for future challenges.
The meeting comes 2 days after Jaishankar delivered a speech at the United Nations General Assembly maintaining India's neutral stance over the war in Ukraine. He also took a sharp dig at ties between the United States and Pakistan. Jaishankar's remarks came after the US decided to send its F-16 jet fleet sustainment program to Pakistan. According to the Biden administration, India and Pakistan are both partners of the US with different points of emphasis. Meanwhile, Pakistan reacted to the Indian foreign minister's statement, saying it sought to respect basic norms of interstate relations and refrain from commenting on the bilateral ties between the US and Pakistan. For more on all of this, I am joined by Susan Tehrani, WION's correspondent live from New York. And Susan, give us a sense, if you will, of precisely what we can expect out of the meeting between S. Jaishankar and Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
Well, Simon, as you noted, there is some concern on the part of India regarding this F-16 issue, although the United States has tried to make clear that it's for somewhat counterterrorism measures and security measures to deal with issues, regional issues and cross-border issues, possibly regarding Afghanistan. And has downplayed this F-16 deal. There's not only concern from India, but there is a lot of concern from lawmakers here in the United States as well as to why this administration went ahead, even if it's sort of, a small deal, a somewhat symbolic deal, and went ahead after the Trump administration sort of backed off in making these kind of defense deals with Pakistan, and made this deal because, as you know, there are still remnants and concerns that Pakistan was a major harbor of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks here, and it hasn't done anything to sort of restore its image of not being that sort of haven. So that's one aspect of it, and Dr. Jaishankar is probably going to raise that concern with the United States, and the United States will again say that it is not directed in any way towards India. It's not directed towards sending a message to India. Some analysts here said perhaps that was the case because India, had this neutral stance when it came to the Russia-Ukraine war, and was still working with Russia on the sidelines when it came to defense as well. The United States, for what it's worth, has debunked those claims. On the other hand, it's in a very tough situation because of its over-the-horizon policies when it comes to Afghanistan, and it's facing a lot of criticism regarding that as well. So one can't help to wonder whether or not that might be an aspect of those, F-16 deals as well. So, these are all the issues that may come up, and Antony Blinken may ultimately, at press conferences scheduled afterwards, try to explain these in hindsight. But I think the issue of Russia and Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, will definitely come up as well. The United States has been trying to gain more allies on its side, and India has been clear in its stance. So we'll have to see where that dialogue leads to. And then ultimately, of course, there's the issue of the safety and security of the Indo-Pacific. India and the United States are very strong partners, not only in the framework of the Quad, but bilaterally as well. They share the same interest for an open and secure Indo-Pacific. And also, I think it's important to note that when it comes to defense and when it comes to relations, defense relations between India and the United States are the strongest. So that aspect of it, despite the fact that they've been discussed already with the Pentagon, they're definitely going to come up possibly between Antony Blinken and his Indian counterpart, S. Jaishankar, as well. Lots to talk about between the two.
Lots on the table. Neatly summarised there for us live from New York City by WION's US correspondent Susan Tehrani. For more on all of this, WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal has sent us this report.
The Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken are going to meet very soon in Washington today. And of course, the key focus will be on convergences. Remember, both countries are part of Quad grouping. They are part of the I2U2 and working together in the Indo-Pacific, even as China has been aggressive. On the table, of course, will be issues like an aggressive China, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And while we have seen ahead of the meeting a lot of focus on the comments made by the Indian External Affairs Minister on F-16 pact when it comes to America and Pakistan, but largely these comments are to send a message to Washington from Washington itself. But by and large, these are minor irritants, because remember, when India sits with its American counterpart, the foreign ministers of both countries sit together today. They sit as equals. They sit as two countries supporting each other in every way possible, with people-to-people relationship becoming a strong pillar of this relationship. When the Pakistani foreign minister sits with the American counterpart, he's sitting as someone who needs support amidst the devastating floods, and perhaps that is the relationship Islamabad and Washington share, a relationship which of course Washington has been very clear about, and we have seen concerted effort by US to tell to the world and to New Delhi that they have dehyphenated the relationship between Islamabad and New Delhi. With video journalist Chandrasekhar, Siddhant Sibal for WION in New Delhi.